It's really our ultimate objective to kind of eliminate loneliness in events. It's entire rooms full of extroverts and introverts, and you still walk in and feel like you're all alone. That's because networking is being done wrong. And so what we try to do is help people connect over actual shared experiences and actual problems and solutions, and not over wine and cheese cubes and name badges that hang by your belly button.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Keynote Curators Podcast. I'm Seth Deckman, your Keynote Curator. Thrilled, enthralled, excited to have our next guest, Liz Lathan. Is that how you say it, Liz?
That's how you say it. You got it.
That is how I say it. All right, so I'm 1 for 1. Liz, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks. I'm super excited to be here.
You're welcome. And we are excited as well. Where does this podcast find you today?
I am in the thriving metropolis of Hutto, Texas, which is just north of Austin, where it's another beautiful sunny day.
Another beautiful day in Texas. Well, welcome. So Liz, let's get right into the heart of the matter. I know, many of our listeners actually do know you and know of you because you are one of them in your various widespread career. However, you've taken a little bit of a shift in your life and moved from crafting event spaces to orchestrating meaningful network experiences.
Nice.
Now, we've spoken and I've considered what you've shared with me, and that's kind of what it is. It's this through line in your life. You've worked with Fortune 500, Fortune 50 companies like Dell and IBM. And now here we are with the organization that you've co-founded, the Community Factory, where again, you're orchestrating these meaningful networking experiences that really transcend traditional event structures. And I think that that's an understatement. Your spontaneous think tanks are unique and, in my mind, in the best sense of the word, an outlier. In today's landscape, what elements make what you do engaging, or really events in general engaging?
I think that it comes down to the people in the room. We've spent too many years going to events and being told that the people on stage are the most important or the most intelligent folks in the room. And no knock against all of our keynoting friends, but there's so much more brilliance in the room that we need to take advantage of. And so whether we work with the keynoters to incorporate that into what's happening, or we bring in a spontaneous think tank to give the people access to each other, I think that there just has to be a revolution in how we're gathering. It's really our ultimate objective to kind of eliminate loneliness in events. It's entire rooms full of extroverts and introverts, and you still walk in and feel like you're all alone. That's because networking is being done wrong. And so what we try to do is help people connect over actual shared experiences and actual problems and solutions, and not over wine and cheese cubes and name badges that hang by your belly button.
Right. And, you hear this word meaningful connections, you hear value, you hear activations, but really, getting under the hood of what you do, the event attendees, as I was thinking about our conversation today, are kind of like an idle asset.
Right.
And you're tapping into that because there's a richness there. Now, dare I say, Liz, the keynote has a place and has an effective, important, valid place. But if they're not connected and they're not bringing that value forth and they're not engaging and activating the audience in what they're up to, and it's more than just saying, hello, Dallas, or I know you're in insurance, where some consider that tailoring, but really doing the work where you're folding the attendees into the conversation and you're not speaking at them, or what you're saying is not washing over them, but that they're really plugged in and woven into the whole conference. There's a lot of ways to do that: pre-event videos, pre-event questionnaires, parsing out some ideas, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm interested in your micro event moments and tapping into this idle asset. Talk to us a little bit about that within these large scale events and how this approach elevates the overall experience and the engagement for attendees.
Yeah, and it's no more complicated than a stack of large 6x8 sticky notes and Sharpie markers. And there's so many opportunities to just get people together over something so simple. So our ultimate way that we absolutely love to do it is very formulaic and very documented on how we would take over an entire event to be spontaneous think tank. But the idea behind it is that it's flexible and the format can be wedged into an existing event. It could be used as a field marketing program. It can be used in advisory councils. But the general concept is we get everyone together standing up with high boy tables that have sticky notes and Sharpies on them. And we ask everybody, write a challenge that you're currently trying to solve. As many sticky notes as you need, one challenge per sticky note, and fill the wall or fill the windows or fill the whiteboards, whatever we've got in the space to use. And we call that the wall of woes. That's all the challenges that your attendees are experiencing. Now, if you literally just stop there, you have your editorial calendar for the next 18 months. You've got every single challenge that everyone's trying to solve.
Right. You were
If
reading my mind.
if you go to the next step and say, now take a look at that. And if you see a challenge you also have, put a check mark by it or put a tick mark on it or put a +1. And now you start to see the groups of problems people are having. Oh, a lot of them are having these problems. And if we're there facilitating, we start moving the sticky notes together. And now you really see the patterns emerging. And then if you want to take it a step further, you say, all right, everyone, take a look at those challenges. And if you've solved that challenge, write your name on it on the sticky note. And so now you start putting the experts in the room and they're looking around going, oh, I've done that. I've done that. Again, if you do nothing more than just that, now you've got people looking for that person throughout the rest of the conference. Oh, Janice can talk to me a little bit about well-being and mental health at events. I better find Janice because we're really struggling with that with our attendees. And so now you've created a reason for people to find each other. But if you take the spontaneous think tank approach, we come in, look at those experts who said they've solved the problem, look at those challenges, and start creating peer-to-peer sessions. So if you have 100 people at your event, we want to create 5 concurrent sessions. So you get about 10 to 15 people per room. You have small groups just sitting in a circle or a living room format. The person who solved the problem shares for about 10 minutes how they solved it. And the rest of the 20 minutes is conversation of people sharing their challenges. Now you created true networking because they are actually solving each other's problems that's relevant to them. It's that
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah. And they're anchored in what's important because they've said it, they've written it down, which on a subconscious level is a way of owning it or acknowledging it, putting it out into existence, and
Mhm.
then exposing them to others that either have had experience in overcoming it or working through it or being able to solve that challenge, or others that have similar challenges where they can share information. It's really ingenious. Walk me through a little bit of the nuts and bolts. So that initial part where there's the sticky and the Sharpie, and then
Mhm.
you begin to people identify, they'll do a +1, they'll put their name if they've solved it.
Mhm.
Do you then huddle up with your team and do that pairing up, or how do you frame that? And then
Yep.
there's time organized to then get people out to the rooms?
Yeah. So if you're actually putting it into a conference, my absolute favorite way to flow it is to have people come in for breakfast, but try to create a family style breakfast type of experience where there's things on the tables and we can welcome people in. We are like the event wingmen. We bring people in, we bring them to the table. Once a table fills up, the food then descends upon the table. So their first experience that morning is meeting with a group of people that they don't know and sharing breakfast together rather
I,
than your
I'll I'll
normal.
have I'll have an omelet. Okay,
Exactly. Well,
just
rather
want to
than your
get
normal event flow, right? You come into the room, you go put your purse or your notebook at a table, you then go to the buffet, then you come back, you don't know who's there. Like it's just a very isolating experience when it could be a very familial
right.
break bread together kind of moment. So whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, having that family style approach starts to break the ice. So then everybody's eating and they've already had this moment where they're connecting over some shared food. And oh my gosh, that was really cool. I've never done that before. Now we invite them up to the wall with sticky notes. We bring everybody together. The energy of the room. We love the chaos of everyone up together, looking at each other's sticky notes. We have the microphone and we're walking around the room announcing some of these things, and it's just noisy and loud. But it works for both introverts and extroverts because the introverts can kind of sit back and watch the chaos and go, this is madness. And the extroverts are like, I got another sticky note, put it boy up there, right? And so everybody kind of has their moment. Then once the crowds are, we call it the popcorn slows down, like the popcorn stops popping. We see the
Right.
last few notes up on the board. And then that's the perfect time to bring in your keynote, your panel discussion, your whatever it is, some sort of distraction, as we call it, for an hour, or, you get a couple of activities going.
Mhm.
That gives us the time to go look at the wall of woes, find all of the people who've said they can lead sessions and start pairing them up. So then after you have kind of your normal conference content happening, you can either do lunch or we can start the sessions at that point. But by then, we've reached out to the people who've said, I could lead a session. We've confirmed that they're willing to lead one. And then we can publish on the big screen, here are the sessions that are going to happen this afternoon, and here's their location. Go forth and conquer.
That's fantastic, and it's like you're queuing up the people have generated their own curiosity, but then there's further intrigue about, "Ooh, wow, I wanna hear how people solve this nagging problem."
Exactly. Yeah. And one of the things we're experimenting now is even AI note taking in those conversations, because quite often, if you have time, you can ask somebody from each of the groups to come up and share, what are the notes, what are the key takeaways from it. If you don't have time and you just need to go, people still want to know what happened in those conversations. So if we
Right.
add in an AI note taker, then we're able to put together a compendium of what happened in all the conversations. But it's nice and anonymized, because the best thing about bringing those small groups together is that people get really vulnerable and they share
Mm,
real
yeah.
stories of what's happening. And it's like group therapy. It's professional group therapy about the
Yeah,
business. It's always same problem, different
yeah.
logo. But we can take kind of the key takeaways and share it with everybody after the
Yeah.
event.
I can imagine that there are some technical aspects to a problem, an XYZ problem, how to negotiate, some tactics.
Mhm.
But I would gather, and I'm willing to be completely wrong here, that many of the problems come down to the human element of it, overcoming a difficult conversation, a colleague that you're unable to connect with or have challenge identifying with, in addition to the technical aspect of the problem.
Oh yeah, it's very personal. We're all human and you don't really get to have that human conversation. We did an event one time, a think tank, where someone offered their expertise as ballroom dancing instructor. And we had so many people check that box that the entire session was them learning how to do the tango. It was so freaking fun. People absolutely loved it.
That is awesome. I also would imagine that the wall of woes, you get some, I don't know if the word is snarky, or some cute people that throw out some very anomalous type of ideas or woes that may or may not be related to specifically what everybody's working on.
That's true, but we don't have to pick those sessions, because if you have
Right.
100 people at your event, you're gonna have over 500 sticky notes on the wall. So it's our job to curate down what are the conversations that really need to happen. So sometimes we'll do these for companies where they are absolutely not comfortable with peer-to-peer conversations, like true peers leading them. One, they're afraid it could devolve into a complaint session. Two,
Right.
they don't know that they're gonna talk about the things that are truly relevant to the company putting on the event, even if it's what the people want to talk about. So they'll ask us, can we do this with our subject matter experts leading? Which is perfectly acceptable. We
Yep.
still get the wall of woes from all the customers and prospects. Now the subject matter experts get to look at the wall and go, oh, this is the perfect one for me to lead a session on.
Right.
We still build out, the sessions are still just as valuable, but the company gets to retain a little bit more control. And that's wonderful.
Right. Yeah, they have their own guardrails and their kind
Mhm.
of own guiding principles, if you will, and the thickies give them some direction, but then they can kind of contain it within what's important to them, their initiatives, their messaging, culture, et cetera, et cetera. That's
It's
really
fascinating though when the company will let go just a little and actually let the people talk about what they want. We did one recently where the company thought that they were going to have very technical conversations with each other, and what went up on the wall were actually business level conversations that the people wanted to have. And they were talking about the labor market and things that
mm,
didn't relate to the technology at all, but it was eye-opening and they let it happen. They kind of came back and said, "Wow, if we started putting content out about these business level conversations, none of our competitors are talking at this level. Now we have a true executive insight and an ability to get into their head at a different level. How
yeah,
great is that?"
that's a massive differentiator. You know, in addition to co-founding the Community Factory, you've also co-founded Club Ichi. Am I
Yep.
saying that right? Right?
Mhm.
Because as I'm listening to this process and this very, very unique way of engaging and accessing this idle asset, I'm going to stick with that term, with Club Ichi, or as I want to say, Club Ichi, because we have so many international listeners as well. Share with me a little bit about some of the more unique, dare I say, once in a lifetime experiences for the meeting planners that you've been able to create.
Yeah, it's so Club Ichi, it came from the Japanese phrase Ichigo Ichii, which means one moment, one time. And that's really what we all try to create across the industry are those really, really memorable moments. And as you look back through all of the industry events that you've been to in the last few years, how many of them have that moment for you? And when they do, did they actually happen at the conference or did they happen because a sponsor took you out to go do something fun? So Club Ichi's gatherings are really to be memorable in that entire way for everything we do. We do everything based on conversation and shared experiences. So we, for example, did an event in June last year where we went to Las Vegas and every event planner was like, oh God, Las Vegas, you can't show me anything new or impactful about Las Vegas. We're like, haha, challenge accepted. So we partnered with MGM Resort Properties and came up with this way to take event professionals behind the scenes in Las Vegas like they'd never seen before. We spent time at the MGM prop and decor warehouse doing like a scavenger hunt and building out what a dream event could be, and went to the employee uniform control center at the Aria to see 9,000 uniforms that come out every single day, cleaned and pressed and fresh for the employees and how they manage that stuff at scale. And then the Bellagio fountains, we went to the control room to learn about the different sprayers and got on a boat and went behind the fountain. They did a show just for us while we were on a boat on the Bellagio lake, like incredible stuff that we hope makes people think very, very differently about how they're planning events and how they're creating experiences for their guests when they go back to actually do a program there. So we've done ridiculous, crazy things over the 5 years we've been engaging event professionals. We did one corporate event, like it was one of our community gatherings where we threw a wedding in the middle of the event. And like people, the venue gave us the venue for free and told us what they needed was some wedding photos to get in wedding magazines. We're like, we don't do weddings. It's not our jam. But we came up with this crazy idea that the event was a couple days before Valentine's Day. So we had people on stage sharing their love story of like a product that they loved or someone they met at an event. And then we kind of led it up to, by the way, we had you share love stories because the venue needs wedding photos. And so we thought we'd throw a wedding. So now what's about to happen is we wheeled out all these florals and plates and all sorts of decor and said, you're about to set this entire place for a wedding reception because you're about to go to a wedding. And we had a bride and groom coming in that had won our contest to see who was going to get a free wedding. And I mean, 100 event professionals who've never met each other before, designing a room on the fly for a reception. The cake gets wheeled in. They then go to the other room. They witness this wedding. They're crying. These people they've never met before,
My God.
falling. And then they come out and they have the reception and the food is there. I mean, these are those moments that you have to do ridiculous things to make an impact on people. People are still talking about that. It's insane.
Yeah, but
So
this is the magic. This is the magic that you're creating. And, it's very, very cool. Back to, it sounds cliche, but these meaningful connections. People were driven by this purpose, albeit an immediate rush. I don't know, but like in an instant challenge, and you're getting emotion and tears.
well, and sometimes oftentimes it's not the things we plan that create that, but you have to be
Right.
thoughtful in the middle of creating to make that happen. We did one event in Chicago that the thing we thought of was trying to break the world record for the number of sticky notes you could put on your face in 60 seconds. There's actually a world record for that. So we had our participants with all these sticky notes and we got official timekeepers and we had approval from the Guinness Book of World Records to try to break this record. And people are like putting sticky notes on their face and we did not beat the world record. I will, spoiler alert, give you
Ah,
that one. But it was
bummer.
incredible and amazing. But what people talk about from that event isn't that. It's because the night before the event started was the series finale of Game of Thrones. And when we realized this, we went to the Virgin Hotel where we were all staying, asked if we could get the presidential suite that night. It happened to be available. We threw an impromptu Game of Thrones watch party. 50 people crammed into this suite. We hooked up HBO to the computer, to the main TV
Right.
screen, ordered in popcorn, and just sat there and watched it, see what was going to happen to Jon Snow. And like that's what people remember. But being able to do those fun things on the fly, like it's incredible.
And you galvanize relationships, right? In those super spontaneous, unexpected moments that you hope for. Just to round it out with Club Ichi, that really you bringing together these event professionals. What would you say in a nutshell? It could be one, it could be several. Are some of the biggest challenges that people are looking for ideas around, solutions around, that meeting planners are hungry for?
Yeah, I think it's really executives are still, especially in the corporate world, the execs have the content they need to share, but the attendees, they want to meet each other. And so event professionals are really struggling with creating that balance between making sure all the, I call it ROE, return on ego, gets met. And so the execs are happy being on stage for their parade of presidents, but then weaving in ways, whether it's working with the exhibitors and sponsors to make their expo booths much more experiential and engaging, or coming up with hallway activations like something as simple as the sticky notes on a wall during the coffee break that's facilitated. And don't let your coffee sponsor just put their logo on the coffee cups. Let them sponsor this wall of woe moment where people can connect. I'm thinking of ways that aren't going to be super budget heavy, but can really be human impactful. Just expanding your networking coffee break from 15 minutes to 30 minutes is not what people are looking for. They're looking for more facilitated, curated ways to connect with each other. And I think that's the struggle that a lot of event people have.
And the facilitated, curated ways, like you said, don't have to be expensive. It's a healthy provocation, not like I'm provoking you, to something negative, but you're provoking curiosity, you're provoking a connection, you're stopping somebody not in their tracks, but oh, I'm getting my coffee, but wait a minute, while I'm getting my coffee, I'm not just on Instagram or wherever I'm checking, my
Yeah.
emails, but wow, I'm engaged in something specifically relevant and pertaining to, why I'm here and what I want to get out of being at this event.
Or these little
And
moments that, again, don't have to cost much. Like, think about this. You have a large event on a beach that night. Everybody goes out there. You've got the food stations here. You got the stage with the band over here and all that. So you're going to come out there and now you're just dumped on the beach with a bunch of people. And now we're back in normal networking land where I have my plate of cheese cubes and my wine looking for someone to talk to. What if instead of that, you had this intentional bonfire moment where when you first walk up, everybody has to grab a stick and a piece of paper and they write the wish and they wrap it on the stick, and now you go up to the bonfire with the other people and you get to place your stick on the bonfire and it makes your wish go up into the night, and you had this moment where people were able to connect. Oh, what was your wish? What did you hope for? And you can talk about something, and now it's not just me looking around for a group to break into. Something happened. It didn't cost you hardly anything to make it happen, but just
yeah,
thinking through the human connection part.
that's great. Yeah, I love that return on ego, return on emotion, right? That's
That's what
that's
we're looking
right,
for, return on emotion.
right.
So in 2021, we were part of a research study that tried to identify what are the emotions you need to evoke in order to actually drive the connections that drive business at your event. And it turns out there's 5 emotions. It's hopeful, active, accepted, adventurous, and motivated. Now, hope and motivation, those can come from your keynotes. Those are, people hoping for a better tomorrow than today when they came to the event. Motivation is they have something that they've gotten that they can go implement, whether it's people they met or content that they obtained while at the event. But it's the A's that people mostly forget about. Accepted
Ex-
being that sense of belonging, making sure that when they get there, they're welcomed. Why is your first experience at the event a touchless, frictionless registration where I walk up to a robot and pick up my badge? Why isn't it filled with people welcoming me in and introducing me to other people? Make sure that happens. The adventure part, it doesn't actually have to be you going on an adventure. It can be witnessing an adventure, but even something as simple as the sticky notes that's outside of their comfort zone, talking to people, that sparks that little bit of adventure in their mind of like, wow, that was something new. And then, of course, the active part is making sure that they have the ability to participate in the content. And again, even the sticky notes is a simple enough to activate. Oh, I did something here. But if you just
mm,
go to an event and things happen for you while you're there, you might as well have just gone to a movie theater. Like that's
yeah.
not what events are all about.
Yeah, and in your programs, you're bringing people into breakfast as you frame it up as your ideal situation, and you're actually squiring them, you're walking them and seating them at the table. And
Hmm.
it's a small gesture, but I'm not a complete extrovert, but I have no problem going up to a table and saying, "Hey, are these taken? Is there room here?" But most people don't. They're going to try
Yeah,
to isolate themselves out, and it
exactly.
just
They pick an empty table and let people come to
yeah.
them.
Yeah, and it produces the exact opposite of the whole idea of an event. right?
Exactly.
And I love the idea of the campfire because I often feel that these are events are a vehicle like the water cooler is, like a
Mhm.
campfire is. And they're
Mhm.
vehicles for this connection and this hope and this really meaningful communication that can occur and these unexpected moments, whether it's the Game of Thrones or going behind the scenes and seeing 9,000 uniforms getting destained and pressed and hung up and ready to be taken on. They're just very, very cool, Liz. You're on a unique, I know this isn't the first time you've heard it, but you're on a really unique creative path here. And I just hats off to you. It's so, so awesome.
Thank you. Well, we invite
We're,
everybody to come join us at Club Ichi. You can find it at weareichi.com. That's ICHI. There's a free version and a paid version, and we want you to come in and hang out with us and join us on our online gatherings and have these conversations. We're the place where you can ask the question that your boss thinks you already know the answer to, but no judgment. Like, we'll help you find that answer. That's what we're all about.
Liz, tell us how you really feel about those projects that they make people do.
Ridiculous. So here's how I would interview somebody. I want to know how they think about approaching the project. I am not asking for free consulting. Just like when you do it in an RFP and a company asks an agency to give all your free ideas so that they can pick whether or not they want to take your idea from you and give it to someone else. That's how I feel about these free projects that companies are
Yeah.
asking for. It's ridiculous. Don't do it.
Yeah. Don't do it. And you're gonna
Don't do
get
it.
that at the at Club Ichi, Club Ichi. There I go again, Club
There
Ichi.
you
We're gonna have to really get the Latin American Club Ichi
go,
going so that
BT.
I can just come in and say Club Ichi, right?
Well, we will be in Argentina in May for Club Ichi. We are doing one of our adventures. Back in 2019, you may have heard of the Secret Family Reunion, where we had invited 80 experiential marketers to meet us at JFK Airport, bring a passport, and pack for 6 days. We didn't tell them where they were going. And when they showed up, we revealed we had chartered a plane and took them to Tuscany for 6 days. So while everybody since 2019 has been asking us, when are you doing a secret trip? When are you doing a secret trip? Well, secret, we're not quite far enough past the pandemic for companies to be comfortable not knowing what country they're going to yet. So what we've
Right.
said for this one is meet us in Buenos Aires. Everything else will be a surprise once you get there. And then in
Very cool.
October, we're doing the same thing that we've said, meet us in Split, Croatia. We've rented a yacht. And everything from there is going to be a surprise. So we just want to get people thinking outside the ballroom and finding inspiration in unusual places and with each other.
Yeah, and both of those locations, as you know, my family is from Argentina, so it's very near and dear to my heart. And anybody who needs any information, any insights, any on the street tips and tricks about how to maneuver around Buenos Aires in particular, you can reach out to me directly
Okay. Well, which
and
football club do we need to care about? Is it Boca or
well, that's the heart of the matter. You see, it's very easy for a foreigner or a non-Argentine to come in and you can choose the Yankees or the Red Sox or
right?
Boca or River, right?
Yeah.
Or the Cowboys or the Giants or whatever the Lakers or the Celtics, right? Because my family is from a second city called Rosario, I'm
Mhm.
of a small little local club called Newell's, which has a great history. Leo Messi played there as a kid before he went to Barcelona. So
Wow.
I would say that if you're going to do the Boca River, walk that fine line. Here's the advice I give you. Just
Okay.
be careful because if you're talking to somebody from Boca and you're choosing River, it could get dicey and
Yeah.
vice versa. So play the
Okay.
political role. There are many big teams, as they call them, I think the big five. So you could pick someone a little bit more benign, like
Okay.
Independiente or Racing Racing Club. And
Okay.
I don't think it'll be as polemic. But
All right.
I think
And
in
so if
May
we
you
just walk
should.
around with like Wrexham or something, then we're totally foreigners and everybody will
Yeah,
just laugh.
that would definitely be a little bit esoteric, but I think if they're big football fans, soccer fans, they'll definitely get it. Here's where you can't go wrong, Liz.
Okay.
Wearing the camiseta de Argentina, wearing the national team jersey.
Got
That
it.
one
Okay.
you can't go wrong there. So you kind of are accepted on all fronts.
Perfect. And I see it right behind you. So we know that we'll
Yes,
aim for that.
that's a penguin right there with
Mhm.
Diego Maradona's number 10, which Messi also wears. It's El 10, but there's only one 10 really Diego Armando Maradona. So, Liz, that's going to be exciting. I want to hear all about both of those trips. A surprise, not entirely, but it's going to be surprising what they experience for sure.
Absolutely.
We've come to the end of our conversation, at least for this round. I want to always leave something on the table to hear what happens. Maybe next year we can review how you've expanded, what happened in Argentina, what happened in Croatia on the cruise boat, and everything and anything else that all these amazing connections that you're developing. We typically finish off with 20 questions. So we're going to get right into it. It's rapid fire. They're not a full 20 questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
What's the most interesting thing about you that we wouldn't learn from reading your resume?
I was a space camper as a kid. I went every year from fourth grade through high school and then went back in college to be a camp counselor. I was going to be an astronaut
In Alabama?
in Alabama.
I am so over this shoulder, you can see my space shuttle.
Uh huh.
Okay. I'm a closet space nerd.
I
Okay.
love
Like
it.
massive. And this is a true story. Alan Bean, who passed
Yeah.
away, I think 2 or 3 years ago, finished his life in New Mexico. He was a watercolor artist, really great. I booked him. I think there's been 11 men on the moon. He was number 4. And
Mhm.
when I called him, I'd known that he had been on the moon and I knew, a little bit about him. But as a little kid, I just kind of came out and I said, "Oh my God, you're the first guy I've ever spoken to who's actually been on the moon." And just totally mellow. He just goes, "Pretty cool, isn't it?" And
So
I was
cool.
just like, "Yeah, pretty cool." So,
So cool.
kudos to you. I definitely wouldn't have known that. And we have that in common. And anytime I have the opportunity to work with astronauts or talk with
Mm.
them, it's so, so cool. Ice cream, chocolate or vanilla?
Oh, I'm a vanilla girl. You can do so many things with vanilla. I think chocolate is way too limiting. Like vanilla, you can turn it into chocolate with enough Hershey syrup. You can add strawberries. It is the base for everything amazing. And just plain vanilla, I absolutely love because the way I view events, the more you take away, the more impactful something can become. And so if you remove all of that craziness, you get to something just pure and amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, and our listeners, leave it to Liz to connect a bowl of vanilla ice cream to events.
I mean,
Okay.
is that what
I
we're all
mean,
about?
that's what we're all about. Pizza, straight up cheese or with toppings?
Oh, with toppings. I'm a pepperoni girl. I do keep it simple. I can do like all the meats except for Canadian bacon. I don't know why you would put ham on a pizza. And don't go adding pineapple either, but just a normal, good meats pizza.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm a little bit like on the pineapple. What? But, to each his own.
It's fine. I'll eat it. It's just not my
Yeah.
preference.
Yeah. It's not your jam. 5-star beach resort vacation or out in the woods, the mountains, on a river, on a lake.
Okay. So in my head, I think five-star beach resort vacation. However, every single one I've been on in the last 5 years has been so freaking boring and hot and sweaty, and I'm tired of sweating. So I would pick mountain lake where you can hike and get on the water. However, my trip last year to test out this yacht in Croatia left me thinking, oh my gosh, I can take a beach vacation and not have to sweat. So having a yacht in the Mediterranean where you're being taken from to different islands over the course of 5 days and getting to try those islands out and jump in the cool water. I mean, it's the best of both worlds. There's mountains around you, it's beaches, it's incredible. So I'm cheating and I'm going right in between.
You're threading the needle on that one. Social media, friend or foe?
Oh, I'm still friendly to social media, except that I don't really use it as much as I had previously. So I'm definitely moving away from consumption and toward creation. And so my creative outlet of choice is LinkedIn. So from that perspective, I live and breathe LinkedIn. My daughter lives and breathes TikTok, of course, all the time, which there's the question of friend or foe, right? So those are the
Right.
things that we have to manage in
Yeah.
our lives.
Yeah. What's the last book you read?
I just finished Erica Spindler's The Detective's Daughter. So one of our Club Ichi members has a sister who is a New York Times bestselling author, and I got to meet her and get her to sign a book and just finish that one. And it was so much fun. Normally it's just business books, but I was so glad to get that one and take my brain
Yeah,
somewhere else. So
that's cool. Streaming, what, are you binging anything? What's the last thing that you've watched?
we just finished Reacher. If you haven't watched that one, that is so fun. And I'm almost finished with How to Get Away with Murder. That's a fun one.
Ah, I
Huh?
like I like the title.
It's got Viola Davis. She's incredible. And
Yeah,
yeah.
really incredible. I've worked with her as a speaker. Fascinating. You have to have the right moderators because
Mm.
these are big personalities, right?
Oh yeah, I could see that. I could
Do
see
you
that.
have any pet peeves?
Terrible networking events. It is like the absolute bane of my
Did
existence.
I walk right into that?
You said use that was a softball, man. When I am invited to go to something that's going to be come get your drink, meet people for 10 minutes, sit for the speaker, meet again afterwards. Like, yeah, it's
Hold on
awful.
a
And
minute.
yeah,
Hold on a minute. You have to have bad lighting and loud music.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. They're awful. They're just such a wasted
Yeah.
effort. There's so many
Yeah.
amazing people in the room. Why aren't they letting them talk to each other and in a way that lets them get in? Because at the beginning, this last one I went to, I got there early enough to actually be able to meet with people and form my own group of people that no one could get into. But then after the keynote, then it goes back to the groups where the people are with each other. And now I can't break into one. And I'm like, God, it's awful.
Yeah.
Awful. Stop it.
That is a pet peeve. Cut it out and stop it. What's the phone app you use most?
Well, WhatsApp all day, all night. I'm WhatsApping all
Okay.
the people.
Other than the Keynote Curators podcast, which is
Mm.
clearly your favorite one, what's your second most favorite podcast?
Okay, the one that I just came across yesterday, our friend Arthur, who is part of Club Ichi, has one called That's Entertainment. And he does this live on Facebook and LinkedIn. And so you can kind of catch it on any platform. I hit the production value, the content he brought in of talking about new technologies. Like I was blown away by the
Wow.
content that he had. It
Wow.
really like shook me beyond podcasts that I normally listen to on a daily basis. Like, wow, that was great.
AC/DC, you shook me all night long, right?
Exactly.
If there's one thing that you're terrible and suck at, but would like to be great at, what would that be?
Sales. I cannot ask for things. I'm completely incapable of asking for a close or an introduction or anything. Can't do it.
Oh, but I bet you're happy to help people get introduced.
Oh, 100%. That's where
Yeah.
it's at. Yeah. Oh, I'm
All
I'm
right.
the connector.
So Liz, we're gonna unpack that on our next episode.
Okay. That
Okay.
sounds great. We'll get through my imposter syndrome.
Right. We're gonna peel away the layer of that onion.
That sounds
I
great.
think that that's a great place to finish. I just, what comes into my mind right now is matchmaker, matchmaker, make me a match. You're
Right.
really connecting people and taking into account and consideration what's important to people, what drives them, what is it that touches and moves and inspires them, and then being a vehicle, a platform, an environment, a space, an ámbito, as we say in Spanish, to an ambiance to have them connect, but anchor them in what's important to them
Yeah.
and then matching them up. So
Mm.
all the work that you've done up till now is amazing and incredible, and you've sparked and put that pebble in the water where it's rippled out. What I want to acknowledge and thank you for is the work that you've yet to do, not only in 24, but beyond, where there are so many connections that are yet to happen that are going to be magical and miraculous. And I thank you for that because people are thirsty for it. And it's such important work that you're doing. And we feel privileged to have had you as a guest on our podcast.
Aw, that made me feel amazing. Thank you for that.
Well, that's part of what we do here. We make people feel amazing. So all of our listeners out there that have come back and gotten our great episodes into their platforms, whether it's Spotify or Apple Podcasts or all the others, thank you for returning. For the new listeners, first-time listeners, we appreciate you giving us a shot. Please share it with your friends, your family, your neighbors, your colleagues, your postman, whomever it is, the uniform person over at the Aria Hotel. We love having you, and we feel that you're smarter for it. So we'll see you next time.